Welcome to Beau, Hannam guitars and ukuleles. So I'm going to fit this top, and I thought I would show you how I do it. Notching the upper transverse braces or bars is the same method for doing the back braces, which can be seen there. I position the top. Actually, another tip I found helpful. So you can see the template line on the inside. I sand flush right to the template line, the very top, so that's an easy reference point to butt up against here, or to have flush against there. Get that center line on the center line of the mold. Actually, this is okay. That's all good. So now you've got these transverse bars popping out. One second. Move this over to the edge of the bench. Just make sure the center lines are still good. Okay, so I've actually already marked this one, and then I realized that I hadn't made a video on it, so I stopped. So mark there, and the other side right up against the brace here as well. The other thing I do is where I want to trim the brace off, so I come in about halfway and just mark a line there. And there. Sorry if I'm not filming this very well, it's kind of hard to do. There and there. And I spin it around and do the same thing to the other side. And this bag, by the way, it's for shooting, and they're good. I think LMI sell them. Stu Mac might sell them as well. I bought mine at a gun store, Cabela's. They're about $40 from memory. Can't remember. This was like 5 years ago, but they're good. The other thing with this upper transverse brace, can you see how that's butting right up against the head block on inside there? I'm not sure if I can. There we go. And that just helps for stability. When you butt up the upper transverse brace up against the, one sec. forget. If you butt the upper transverse bar up against the head block, it helps with stabilizing the top and just the geometry of everything under string tension, because you've got the bridge here and the headstock up here and all that string tension in the middle. And this is, well, the halfway point's here, like 12th fret, but this area is under constant pressure and the fingerboard is constantly trying to dive in this way. And so when you really stabilize it with a nice transverse brace that's butted right up against the head block, you are doing as much as you can to allow your instrument to live for just as long as it possibly can. And also, so my head blocks, my upper transverse brace is about 1/2 inch tall by by whatever I grab, but it's about 10 mil or something. Just something that doesn't look ridiculously wide. It's about 9 mil. You could use a 1/4 inch piece of wood, which is about what that is. But just don't put a flimsy little bit of wood there. So now we have these marks here and here. What I do with a nice scalpel, just come in there. I don't normally cut the top. What I do cut is on the inside of the lining, and you'll see why. I'll tell you why. I use a Dremel to cut these, and you can get a little bit of tear out. Another thing you can do is to come in with this really nice saw from StewMac. And you can either scribe first or just make a little cut. The top I'm not really worried about, so I don't normally do that. But just as long as you do one or the other, and those saw marks didn't go in as far as I scribed with the razor blade or scalpel. Just let me go get my a router. Okay, so in a previous video I cut the brace ends, or I showed you how I cut the brace ends with this router, which is just a straight bit, and that just gives a uniform height to this part of the brace. And so I mentioned corresponding kind of pocket cutter that I use, and that is this. And this depth is set to correspond to this brace height. So what I'll do is to show you how I do all this. Actually, first I can show you the use of this curved saw and why I like it. So just joining up those marks that I made. If you've got a line from the mold, from the template, which is this line here, you don't have to measure it on the job. You can just come in, a certain amount, and that amount will be consistent on all the braces, but I still mark it on the job because it's just there, so I might as well do it. So why I like this curved saw, I think you'll be able to see it. Maybe if I turn this light off. So when I'm going to be sawing this, because of the light, which is just over here, you can see when you're getting really close to the top and when to stop sawing. I'll try and demonstrate that. Getting close. I should really stop right now. And because I'm not organized, I'll grab a chisel. So the last little bit, I use a dogleg chisel to pop this little bit off. Because I can tell that it's not quite cut all the way through. Just run that saw again through there. And then just clean up the glue will stick to the top a little bit. So because this is going to be glued to the top and the linings will cover this, so it doesn't actually matter if you're a little bit careless, and if you, for this particular one, not so much on this one, because you can kind of go out into visible land. But for this particular one, all of this area is going to be covered. So if I went a bit too deep and sawed like that. It, you know, as long as it's just a little score, it doesn't matter. So I'll just do all these quickly. And the curved blade really is good for that. For the reason I gave, you can really see when it's getting close to the top. You should try and avoid cutting into if you can. But again, it doesn't matter if you do in some areas. Really see it in that shot that the curve is really coming into its own in regard to me being able to tell if I'm getting close to the top. And this chisel, dogleg chisel, really good. And the number for that is 21/6. The 6 I think stands for 6 millimeters wide here. I actually filed it down to about 5 mils just to correspond with my back braces. Okay, so that's the braces taken care of. They will now fit into the pockets that I will Dremel for them. Okay. I'll try and get a close-up of how I'm doing it. So right here. Okie dokie. Sorry about the noise. So, what's more important in this job, fitting any brace into a pocket, into a notch, is that the depth is correct. If the pocket is just a little bit wider than the brace, it doesn't matter. It's nice if it's absolutely just cut the pockets and my battery ran out, so I had to stop filming. So what I did, I just cleaned up the pockets that I routed. I basically just made them square or rectangular. I didn't change the depth or anything, and I just made sure there wasn't any fuzz or stuff on the bottom of the pockets, and fits perfect. Sometimes it doesn't. I would probably say 50-50. What is important though is perfect centerline and perfect centerline. What I'll do, I think I can show you the inside too, just to see how close I got. First go with the depth of the pocket and the depth of the brace. So from the outside, the upper transverse brace is about here, so that looks really good, and the other one back there looks good too, but we can have a closer look because this has a side pot, which makes certain things a bit easier. I think my light's dead. But can you see how close I got that pocket first go with the dedicated Dremel? That's a very nice job. The depth is really good, and the width is also good. So that's what I look for. This side appears to be maybe sticking up a little bit more. Maybe just here. So I'll just stick a mirror in and decide what needs to be taken care of. Sometimes it's easier to... Actually, I do leave the nice, perfectly flat, routed bottom of this notch alone. The only thing I do is sometimes I just chisel off a little bit more off the sides. If I need to pivot this a little bit just so the center line matches up. If it's sitting a little high, then I just come in with a chisel or even sandpaper and just take a little bit off this until it sits perfectly flush. If there's a tiny bit of a gap, it doesn't matter because the glue will still glue it all down and gap fill just a little bit of a gap. I think that's all I got to show and tell today. I'll glue this down using these glue downy things. They're just 1/8 bits of MDF, and they just help distribute the clamping pressure. And on this particular one, I'll just be careful around this area, just because it's a little bit more delicate than the corresponding side of the lower bow. I hope that was of help to people for fitting back braces and top braces. And on guitars you can do it on the X brace. Some people notch the X braces in. The other way I've seen people do it, I've never done it this way, is if you're fitting a back, just pretend this back isn't stuck on, but you position the back on the sides, flip it over, and then come in and mark it when it's face up like this. I don't know, whatever works. I do it the way I do it. It's not better or worse than the other way, it's just the way I do it. I always recommend doing things, if you know 3 ways to do it, or if you've seen 3 ways to do it those 3 ways and then decide which one you like better. I've got a few methods that I do that aren't as quick as other methods, but I just enjoy, a couple of minutes of easy woodworking, just whittling away at something. Sometimes it's worth spending, a minute or 2 longer just to do something in a way that's more pleasurable to you. So I hope that was of help to everybody. If you want to hear any other tips, just let me know, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye.